Great. So if you are here for self-efficacy, the most powerful skill you've never taught, you're in the right place. We're just going to do a couple of introductions before we begin. Let's see. Is it the triangle? To the right. Great. So my name is Morty Ballin. My role is Senior Vice President of Global Academics at Christel House International. My background is a teacher. I taught in Louisiana, and then I moved to South Africa when President Mandela was elected to understand how he was transforming that country's educational system. And then I started a charter school in Brooklyn and spent 20 years building it into a network of schools called Explore Schools. And then I became really interested in global education, and I wanted to see if what I learned from starting and scaling Explore was transferable to global colleagues. And I wanted to learn from global colleagues what we could do to improve our education system here in the United States. And just a fun fact about me, I'm a helper daddy. I'm a known donor. I have a daughter. She lives with her moms in Richmond, Virginia. And she calls me daddy, and she calls my husband Papa.
Hi everybody, I'm Tania Alvarez. I'm from Mexico City and I'm the academic director at Christel House Mexico. I started my journey as a director of early childhood education, and I was in the public system in Mexico serving impoverished kids, and then I became a kindergarten teacher from a private school. It was a bilingual model, but then I didn't find myself in that place, so I found Christel House, and I knew that that was my mission. I've been in Christel House for the last 15 years, so it's like my home and my family, and I love our mission because in there I believe that we are changing Mexico from education and giving my kids and our students opportunities to get their best in life. So, fact from me, it's like it doesn't look, but I did an Ironman, and that's like something really hard to do. And it was the first time in my life like doing anything, like anything. It was really like anything. And it was really hard. It was 4 years ago, and now I don't want to do anything at all again because I'm old and tired and I just want to do Pilates or something like that. So that's me.
So Tanya and I are both members of the Christel House International organization, and our global mission is to empower our students who are experiencing extreme poverty to achieve economic mobility, demonstrate good citizenship, and identify and realize their goals and dreams and human potential. And Christel House International, it's a global organization, so we run schools all over the world. We run schools in Mexico City, in Cape Town, South Africa. We have 4 schools in India, Jamaica. We're opening schools in Colombia and Nepal. And one of the reasons why I initially joined Christel House is because I'd never known a global school organization that shared a shared mission, and that was really compelling to me. And just a little bit more about the Christel House model. So our theory of change is characterized by a deep 18-year intervention that utilizes a holistic model. So we run schools, and we start with working with our students when they're 5 in kindergarten. They are at our school until they graduate in 12th grade, and then we support them on a college or career trajectory for 5 years after they graduate. And our model, it's holistic. So we believe, of course, academics, but character and leadership development, health and social services, parent and caregiver engagement and partnership, and then again, as I said, we work with them on a college and career, our students on a college and career readiness and employment trajectory. And this was the second reason why I joined Christel House, because of the ambition of our mission. Our mission is really about life outcomes. We're not measuring our students' success on a test in 3rd grade or 4th grade. We're assessing the extent to which our students are having jobs that they like and that are aligned to their skills. Are they moving up economically, and are they happy? So that's what we measure. And just a little bit about some numbers. This is old. We're actually at 25,000 students since we've opened. 95% of our alumni are in higher education, employment, or both. 88% of our graduates are 3 times more likely to be in formal employment as compared to their peers. And this is agnostic of context. This is whether it's India, whether it's Mexico, whether it's South Africa. And 72% of our graduates demonstrate upward economic mobility. And we know that because when our students first apply to Christel House as kindergarten, the criteria we have is poverty. So we understand the family situation, and then as our alumni graduate through annual surveys, we can understand the extent to which they're breaking that cycle of poverty. And the sort of journey that we've been on, which we're going to be sharing more with you today, is this concept of strengthening student self-efficacy. And the working definition that we're using for student self-efficacy is one's belief in their ability to accomplish a specific task or goal and to persist in the face of obstacles. And as you can imagine, working with our students, we want them to go out in the world and realize their dreams. So we'll talk more about this, but this is a concept that we've been learning about and studying. So the last reason why I love Christel House is because our leaders in each of our countries share the identities of the students we serve. So even though we're an organization that's headquartered in the global north, our senior-most leaders in Mexico are Mexican, in India are Indian, so there's a deep belief and value that the action is local. And schools are local mechanisms, and the folks on the ground know best how to serve their students and families. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Tanya, to share more about the Mexican context.
Thank you very much. Well, I think most of you are related to Mexico. We are like neighbors, no? And maybe you don't have like the full information about Mexico, but Mexico is like a huge country. It's like we are 138 million people in Mexico, okay? From those, almost 40% of our people live in poverty. So that's like 38 million people living on poverty. And from that, 9% live in extreme poverty. Half of those are kids. So we're talking that in Mexico there are 16 million people, kids, growing on poverty. And how this poverty looks around the world, but mostly in Mexico. When you grow or you are born in poverty, you have like your basic needs are not met. So you grow with malnutrition, you don't have access to social services or health, but mainly you will grow up in these kind of neighborhoods that they are like really violent and unsafe. And that untruncates your dreams or your possibility of learning. Our kids, they live on this kind of messy, a lot of noise, like small space, like no room, like to dream. Most of them, they're forced to work since they're like 5-year-old because their parents need to work, but also to get extra income. So situation is really hard, and you can dream on that kind of scenarios. You can imagine it's like really hard to have this in your regular life. But mainly in Mexico and other countries like South Africa, it's all about like this being part of violence, but also being part maybe of delinquency or social or these gangs. So that's main of the most struggles from our kids. So that's the situation from our kids, but our kids are really like they have like this possibility of being part of Christel House. Look, most of them, they say like Christel House is like their family, and that place, their way can feel safe, but mostly that they know that they have the opportunity of have like hope for the future, that they can be their best, that they can dream, that they can have this family. And that's the magic of Christel House Mexico, but also all around the world. And as Maury mentioned, our results are like really amazing, I can tell. In Mexico City, only like 13% of the people, they have a bachelor's degree. 80% of our alumni, they're admitted to college, versus the 34% of the nation. So this is really compelling because it's not just being admitted to college, it's more like staying at college. So our kids being from really poor environments, now they're part of this 13% of Mexico having a bachelor's degree. Also, something that is really important is this percentage of 97% of our alumni, they're studying or working versus 45 of the nation. And when you're not studying or working, it's like you're on risk of being part of the cartels, or you're not going to have opportunities for being to live poverty. Also, from these students or kids that are like part of this 95%, 80% of them are in the formal job. They have a formal job, so they have benefits compared to the 45 of the nation. Like because in Mexico, most of the people they work on informal jobs, so they don't have benefits. And the most important is that 69% of alumni, they have achieved going up the ladder of social status. Like now they are part maybe of 2 levels up from where they were born, versus the 22% of Mexico. Like in the world, it takes 11 generations to go out of poverty. In Christel House, we're doing it in 1 generation. So that's like amazing. And I would like to talk about like an example from our kids in Mexico. So this is Marco, and Marco is 22 years old, and his story, it's a unique story. Maybe not unique because we have like 700 stories like this in Christel House Mexico. But well, Marco became an orphan when he was 2 years old. So his grandmother started taking care of him, but when he was like 4 or 5 years old, the government removed him from his grandmother because of the situation he was living on, like really like poor conditions. So he started living with his aunt. And Marco, even though he looks like really nice, he's like a troublemaker, like this kind of kid that you love and hate sometimes. He used to be he's still a troublemaker. But well, when Marco was kind of 7, he started struggling in the lower school. He was not at Christel House in that moment, okay? He started struggling, he starts going out to the streets, and he started doing drugs at 13, kind of. And well, things got out of control, and he started living in the streets while he was 14 years old. At 15, he got into rehab because of the amount of drugs he was doing. So that was like the worst moment of his life. So he started living in a shelter, and it was like a great shelter that we have like this alliance. So Marco entered Christel House in high school. He was 15 years old. And he was like really not liking our school. He was like, these people is weird. Why are they talking with me with love? What, they know my name? And so he didn't trust adults, and he really liked to be like this bad boy. So he was from the hoods. So he said like, I'm from the street, and these kids are like soft kids, And he was like in lots of troubles, like lots. I was mentioning Mori that actually COVID saved him to be expelled from the school because it was like he went to live back on the shelter during 1 year. So COVID saved him. And then when he was on 12th grade, he said like, okay, I need to do something from my life because like in 6 months, I'm going to be out of the shelter because he's going to be like an adult and he's not going to be able to live at the shelter. So most of their teachers, they were thinking like, no, he's not going to do it. He's going to be that of 20% of our kids that they don't go to college. That's Marco. And Marco had this energy of saying, I'm going to show the world that I can do whatever I want. So he managed going to be admitted to Politécnico Nacional, one of the most important universities in Mexico, to be an engineer. He was admitted, and actually he came back to his grandmother and said, I did it, I made it. I'm not just a troublemaker. I can do big stuff. So nowadays, Marco is studying to be a computer technology engineer, and he started working as a data analyst on the Mexican Workers Union. But something that is really important is when he was 18 and by himself, he was doing $120 per month. His rent was kind of $70. So he was living with almost anything. Nowadays, he's doing 10 times that money by himself. And now he's considered to be part of the 20% of the Mexican population that is in the middle class. So this is a great story about how Christel House is helping our kids to achieve their dreams and to have this mobility.
So we share that story about Marco because what we're trying to do across our system is understand what was driving Marco. What is it that was helping him to have the agency to persist in spite of obstacles? And when we do focus groups, over the last couple of years, when I'm sitting with our graduates in India and South Africa and Mexico, there are schools that are 25 years old. I ask the alumni, what do we need to be doing better? How do we improve at Christel House? Regardless of the location, our graduates keep saying, you did too much for us. We weren't able to fail at school for 18 years, so then when we're out in the world and there's obstacles, we actually don't have the muscle to sort of push through. So we heeded that, and we sort of listened to our alumni. And then we also looked at the behaviors of our adults. And it was true. Our adults are, because of the love and because of the care and because of the mission orientation, we're doing way too much. There's an overreach that the adults are doing. And I know from my own experience as a teacher, there's an inclination and an orientation because you're afraid, gosh, what's going to happen? But there's a disservice that's happening. And the last, as you can imagine, because of our mission for life outcomes, preparing our students to be ready for the global workforce, we're doing them no favors if we are sort of doing everything for them. So we asked ourselves, well, gosh, if we're in a school system that starts with kids at 5 all the way to sort of 12th grade and beyond, how do we build structures and systems and processes during the school day to build and strengthen self-efficacy? So that's the why behind our journey. And we really sort of did studying, starting with Dr. Bandura, and he's the psychologist who coined the concept of self-efficacy. People with high assurance in their capabilities approach difficult tasks as challenges to be mastered. They're excited by challenges as opposed to threats to be avoided. So that's the kind of mindset that we're trying to build within our students. And Dr. Bandura talks about 4 foundational concepts related to strengthening self-efficacy. The first, to build self-efficacy, students need to experience mastery. They need to see successful outcomes themselves that they've achieved. They need to see for themselves firsthand that they are experiencing success through their effort and persistence, because that positively reinforces their judgment about their competence. And to do this, what does this mean practically in a school setting for a practitioner? Creating structured opportunities for students to achieve incremental successes where they can see themselves those successes as a result of their behaviors. Dr. Bandura talks about vicarious experiences, that when individuals observe relatable role models successfully completing tasks, it strengthens their self-efficacy. So it builds a sense of capability, especially when the observer perceives similarities between themselves and the model. And practically, what could that look like in a school setting? Peer collaboration, mentorship programs, and exposure to alumni success stories. He talks about number 3, social persuasion is a powerful tool to strengthen self-efficacy. Verbal encouragement and feedback, it reinforces an individual's belief. And when it's given by teachers and peers and by mentors, it fosters that belief that success is attainable. And it creates a culture of constructive feedback. It helps students to reframe challenges into opportunities and growth. And the last piece that he talks about is the importance of one's emotional and physiological state as a key lever to strengthen self-efficacy. So how individuals interpret their physical and emotional responses to situations, how are they responding to anxiety, stress, or excitement? So strategies like mindfulness and intentional preparation and stress reduction can help remove barriers to success and strengthen self-efficacy. So with that sort of frame, then we're going to do a little sort of match-to-match experience here. With these 4 concepts, we're going to learn a little bit from Tanya about some of the practices that she's been doing with her team at Christel House Mexico. So before we do this, Tanya, can you just share, so we have the Marcos, but can you share a tiny bit about those graduates where either in the university or the workplace where this lack of self-efficacy resulted in sort of challenges?
Sure. Well, we have a lot of stories, but mainly these stories are related to being in a different environment than Christel House, because our kids come from this family to the public system, and the public system is really different for our kids. So even though maybe they would be like stars at Christel House, when they go to college, they're like lost, like they don't know what to do because teachers are way different. You know, so sometimes, for example, they're struggling with a family situation, and they're in the middle of exams or delivering stuff or whatever, and they're assuming that teachers are going to say like, "Oh, darling, okay, you can have like 2 days more for this," or "What's happening? Do you want to talk about this?" And they're like, "Oh, I failed everything. This lady, she didn't help me. She was not giving me extra time for my deadlines," you know, that kind of stuff. So then they start failing subjects, or they are on with these teachers that they don't know their names or their situations, or even though they don't want to be questioned by them, they just want to teach and go out. So they start having like problems with teachers, and they start like failing, or they start like being not that engaged with school, because they're like really like, they feel that we are like holding hands. You should do this, you're doing this, because they don't have like their family support. So we are their family. Also, they don't feel like they belong to these environments. Like, as I mentioned, like a small percentage of people can go to college in Mexico or university. So now they're with other peers that maybe they look better than them, and they used to be like stars or to be like top achievers at Christel House. So now they feel like they don't belong. And that other kids, they have like their parents, they're doctors, they're attorneys, and their families, maybe they just finished like middle school. So they don't feel like they fit, but then they feel like disencouraged to keep going. And sometimes they feel that they're failing, and then they don't want to talk back to us because they failed us, because they're not doing what they're expected to be as a Christel House kid, so they're struggling with that. And if when they finish college, then there's this journey to get a job. So they start seeing that maybe they don't have the skills needed by the market, because they don't come from private school, or their English is not as fluent as other kids. So they get disencouraged of how to do things, even though how to send like a resume, you know, like sometimes they don't have like this discipline or to understanding to say like, I'm going to send like 100 resumes, and maybe they're going to call me like from 2 possibilities. So those kind of things are happening to our kids.
So one of your structures that you and the team have piloted over the last couple of years, one thing is this middle school math club. Could you share a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, like because of these situations with our alumni, we are trying to have like a balance, not like to cut our energy, because some of our kids, they said, like, you need to be rude with us at high school. You should be, like, really super strict on us. And we're like, that's not happening. Like, it's, like, not possible at all. But maybe we can find balance on how to develop the skills that our kids need to achieve this and to have, like, this mindset to be changed. So we start some activities inside the school, like in diverse sections. So this one was developed by our head of department from math, and what we are doing is we call this like the math club. I don't know in your schools, but our school, when you're like underperforming, you need to stay on after school, you know, but it's like mandatory, like you should. And most of the kids in the middle school there don't want, and then they start to sneak out and they don't present and that kind of stuff. So we changed this, and what we're doing is that our top achievers, they're in charge of this after school, like this math club. So their job is to invite their peers. Like, oh, we're going to stay to the math club and we're going to do activities. So it's like just like by invitation. So other kids are saying, like, why he didn't invite me, that kind of stuff. So they stay 1 hour, twice a week on this math club. And the top achievers, they have like small groups. So they're tutoring their friends. And they're like having like these records on which is like the group that is getting like best results, like on math. So on track, they're like learning from their peers, but also they're setting goals on how to improve on math.
So just to thread the needle here, this is an explicit connection with vicarious experiences. We're asking and matching and helping our students to learn from one another so that our students can see kids who look like them to help them strengthen their self-efficacy. So we're gonna sort of open this up a tiny bit. This next one, we're gonna ask you to sort of figure out how these match to these. So Tanya, if you can describe alumni workshops, and then we're gonna ask you all to figure out, well, to talk to the person next to you about how that relates to some of these concepts.
Okay, so something that is really important for us is to bring to our school like diverse professions for our kids to know, because most of our kids, they don't have like enough information about all the professions that are in the market. So most of them, they would say when they enter first grade that they want to clean houses, or they want to be Uber drivers, or they want to sell something, because those are like the professions that they know. Or they can say like teacher, or like veterinarian, like the basics one. So what we do is like we have intentionated like activities through all the year, and one of those is like the professions week that we call. So in 1 week we bring like huge professionals, you know, like these people that they're like in high positions to talk to our kids. But also we have another week where we invite our alumni. And our alumni, they have like small workshops for our kids. So for example, if I am an attorney, I'm going to have a small workshop with a group of kids, and I'm going to explain why is to be an attorney, where you can study, how much are you going to earn, like explain like the path to go there, but then like a small workshop. And the kids, they do something, I don't know, like a case analysis, or so we do that with most of our alumni. So we receive like, I don't know, like 30 alumni in 1 week that they're presenting their professions, but also helping their little brothers and sisters to understand the path to go to that profession.
So if you could find your neighbor or somebody behind you, and from what you just heard about this, what connection are you making with some of the sort of concepts of self-efficacy through this alumni workshop? You can turn and talk to the person next to you. I think we're good on time too. Maybe we'll do 2 more of these, and then we'll open up to questions. So, yeah, maybe 5 more minutes. Anybody want to share their thinking? Yes, thank you.
And just thinking about
Oops, sorry.
the alumni workshops, if you're talking about mastery experiences and students being able to see themselves through somebody who looks like them, who comes from their same culture. So you have somebody who has graduated through your program and now they're coming back to feed into those same students. They are showing you can be successful. I was in the same place as you. So they're seeing somebody that they can then look to and go, this is possible.
Totally. Much more powerful than Tanya standing in front and saying, you better do this. Don't be an Uber driver. Exactly. Excellent. Share a little bit about grade analysis and goal setting. What is that?
Yes, well, we do this mostly in the lower school, middle school. At school, we have like school leaders, so they're elected by their peers. One of those leaders is the academic leader. So the academic leader is in charge of doing this activity every term with their group. So all the kids, they have like small charts for their grades. So it's like every term they have like a chart, like I got an 7 or an A or a B, and they start like doing charts on how to compare their performance. And they set goals in that moment. So they say like, next term I want to improve on math, I want to improve on language arts, and then they select strategies. So they say like, in order to do this, I need to do this, this, and this, and they have like the charts and like a small piece of paper to put their plans, like how to do this. And also they, when they do the analysis, they talk about what they did and what they stopped doing to get those results, because it can be good or bad results. So sometimes it's like what you stop doing, but it's like between them, like it's facilitated by them.
So same idea, turn to your neighbor, and what about that practice sort of links to some of the concepts that we've been talking about with strengthening self-efficacy? Would anyone like to share? Do you want to share? Yeah. Yeah.
We were just talking about how it allows the students to take ownership of their own learning instead of the teacher saying, well, you need to do better at this, or you need to bring this score up. Then they have it there in front of them and they can see, and it's more of a conversation of what do you think you need to do? What should you do? And it's their plan, and then it relates to that mastery experience because they can see that if they're working towards this and changing some of their behaviors or the ways, then they can.
Exactly. That they're seeing their progress, small incremental successes, and the adult has created space for reflection, for taking a beat and sort of what am I doing that's contributing to this, or what do I need to do more of that might not be contributing to this? Exactly. We're going to do one more, and then we wanted to open it up to have a conversation, hear your questions or your thoughts. So one more example. So 7th grade is a important year at Christel House Mexico. Do you want to share a bit?
Yeah, compared to USA, the middle school starts at 7th grade. So when you enter 7th grade, like your life changed like totally, because you come from 2 teachers to like 8 teachers, like, and hormones and everything, like everything. So we've noticed that our kids struggle on this transition, and that they start failing and they start to be not engaged, a lot of things. So we started this special like transition program for our 7th graders that they have like a lot of strategies. So one of those strategies, it's like what we call my success plan. So it would be kind of similar to the ones of the grades, like analysis, but it's more like an everyday journey on what I'm doing to achieve being on the secondary school with good results. So it's doing these kind of everyday journeys, like to set like our goals and how we are going on those.
Yeah, great. So similarly, same idea, mastery experience, time for reflection, really asking the students, giving the students ownership to look at their actions and behaviors and giving them space to think on their own. What do I need to do to persist? And again, the idea is like if we're doing this in 6th and 7th grade and we're doing this in 8th and 9th and 10th and 11th and 12th grade, when they graduate, these will be skills that are transferable, that they can use these skills in different domains that aren't Christel House, that are the university or are the job place where there's specific strategies that they can use. So we have a couple more, but we really wanted to leave time for questions and open it up to have a conversation. So I don't know if anything that you've heard or anything you want to share from your set of experiences, wanted to hear from you all. So I don't know if there's any questions, but if there are, please come up and come to the mic or just raise your hand. Yes, thank you.
What do you do for the younger kids? I see a lot of the middle school and older grades, but how does that transfer down to those younger?
It's a great question. What are we doing for the youngest kids? So I can tell you, Tanya will share Christel House Mexico, but I do know that in South Africa, with our kindergartners, there was sort of a special time to reflect on how are we doing with tying our shoelaces. What do we want to do with tying our shoelaces in this week? And did we get a smiley face for doing that thing or a frowny face for that thing? So it was an action, it was a goal, there was reflection, and there was time for the students to sort of process. But
yeah, it's like we do the grades also with the kids from first grade, like we do that kind of things. But also our school is really have like a lot of trauma-informed strategies to make sure that our kids are developing their socio-emotional part. And one of those is also linked to our orientational program. And we call it like independence projects. So we have like an articulate curriculum from first grade to 12th grade to develop independence. So it kind of goes from something basic in first grade, saying like you are in charge of your backpack and to bring everything like correct, not losing your pencil, not that folding your sweater, that kind of thing. So they have like these challenges every 2 months, like we're doing this independently or not. Or, for example, 5th and 6th graders, like, I don't know, something that is really common at our community is like kids not wanting to do stuff inside the classroom, so you're pushing them, like, give me your homework, you didn't finish your project, where is your whatever you need, like just like following them, like, like a mom, like, yeah. You did it. So now they have like this independence project. So now they're learning how to use an agenda, for example. Like, this should be done in 2 weeks. I have 2 weeks to do that. That kind of thing. So we call it like the independence curriculum that we are doing all around the school.
I mean, you can imagine a lot more of the work is with the adult culture than the student culture, right? So how are we helping our adults to take risks and to sort of hands off so it doesn't as opposed to them thinking, oh, it's all about me. It's not about you, it's about our students. So how are we helping them? Other questions, thoughts? Yes?
One of the things that we've been trying to push in our district is flipping parent-teacher conferences to be student-led conferences.
Yes.
In the elementary school where the student sits down with a digital portfolio and talks to their parent about the learning. So I was just curious what sort of strategies you have for engaging parents.
Yeah, so our network in Indianapolis started student-centered conferences to put the onus on the student to share their progress. Globally, our approach to parent engagement has really shifted in the last 5 years where, one, this belief that our parent and caregiver success is going to be linked to our student success. So what parent engagement looks like is finding out where do our parent and caregivers, where do they want to grow, and then creating programs. So it's different in our different centers. In India, there's a mother's savings club because there was a need for moms to learn how to save and to sort of be responsible or learn independence financial. So our team of social workers has created a savings club with the moms. So the moms are seeing sort of what they're saving, they're talking about how they're saving, they're seeing it grow over time. In South Africa, there's resume writing workshops because the needs there, our parents and caregivers said, this is something that we need and want. So it's really shifted over the years to be focused on what are our customers, our parents and caregivers saying that they want and need, and seeing how we can provide those services. So a lot of needs analysis, surveys, focus groups, that kind of thing, which is a giant shift from the past, because in the past, parent engagement looked like, please come and volunteer and help to clean up the school. And it's not what we're doing. So it's shifting that.
And in Mexico, what we have, there's like these workshops. So they have like 10 workshops per year. So every month they have a workshop. And again, we have like a curriculum for all parents. And we go through from sex education, drugs prevention, but also the other part on how I support my kid to be successful. And we are like really intentionate on the mindset that we want on our community. So the first day of school, I go in front of everyone and say like, okay, today you're going to remember this day because in 12 years, your kid's going to be graduating and going to college. So we have like also these workshops in every like moment of their life to say like, now you're supporting your kid on this way when he's in 6th grade. Or if your kid is talking about this, support him. Even though he says he wants to be a data analyst and you don't know what's that, you can say like, you're gonna do it, that's great. And for example, in our high school, it's like, what's the plan for them to go to college? Because sometimes our families, they said like, okay, you finish high school, now you're going to work because we need money for the family. So we're changing the mindset on saying like, no, we need to support them through college so they're going to earn more money. So how you support them, even on, you need money to pay for the exams, or you need to help them with extra hours studying, or that kind of stuff. So it's more like working on this mindset of our families.
I think, I saw your... So this sort of self-efficacy initiative started about 3 years ago because we did a root cause analysis. We wanted to understand why are some of our alumni not meeting our outcomes, and those outcomes, we get that data yearly through these annual alumni surveys. So that process revealed 3 big reasons. One reason why our alumni the alumni who weren't achieving our outcomes was that there are family matters at home that they need to be responsible for. They need to support their families, and that was that made it harder for them to achieve outcomes for themselves because they're supporting their family. The second reason was that some of our alumni were saying, I have a job, but it's not aligned to what I like or what my skills or what I'm interested in. I didn't know what I was picking. But the biggest reason was I didn't know like what it means to be independent like that. So we don't yet, because we just started this 3 years ago, we don't know what sort of outcomes, but this is how we've shifted our programmatic work because of that root cause analysis. Yes, sir.
Thank you again. I love the model. I work at a community college level, and so when I heard Marco's story, I thought, wow, we're also getting students a little bit later when they should have been learning self-efficacy long ago. And so since your model starts at the kindergarten level, how do you catch somebody up like Marco when he comes into the system later?
Great question. What happens if students come in later than kindergarten, and how do we catch them up? Because we don't, there are students who come in later. We don't say, if you don't start, you're not allowed in. So Tanya, do you want to share?
Most of the time, these kids struggle at the beginning. Even Marco mentioned it, like it was really hard. These people is really weird, but and they were smart, and I was like not smart like them. So I would say the first thing is that where our culture is really strong. Like this, we have like this strong culture about the Christel House kid. So they start understanding our mission, our vision, and how we work. And we have like these specific projects for them, like programs. So inductions and that kind of stuff. And they have like counseling and individual follow-up and that kind of stuff. So we can do that from the part of the academics if they're struggling, or from the social-emotional part. But I think it's more related to the culture. Like we are really intentioned on making them sure that they're part of the family and that that place is a place to get your dreams done. Like it's more about what we're saying every day to them than specific strategies, like it's more about the culture and the follow-up. And we have like these coaching programs on high school especially. So they have like every month a meeting with their coach, and they talk about their plans and how they're going to meet plans. And also they have this coaching through the next 5 years that they're in college. So it's like the follow-up that they're giving them. But I would say it's more the culture, I don't know.
Yeah, and I would say that culture, it's agnostic of context. When we're talking to our alumni in India and South Africa, we're saying what contributed to your success. It's the people, it's the relationships, like again and again and again, regardless of where we are.
And most of them, what they say is that when they entered Christel House, everything was so different that they knew that they have like one chance. Like, I really want to do my best in here because it's so different from the public system. So our students that enroll later, I think they're more like engaged. They're like, this is great, I want. The other ones are like, I'm used to it. It's been like all my life like this. But they come from the public system, so they really want to do their best or get the best.
We just wanted to wrap up with some just big picture, high leverage strategies for strengthening self-efficacy, setting clear and achievable goals. We talked about student reflection and self-assessment, creating these mastery experiences, modeling positive behaviors, providing constructive feedback, managing emotional states, and attribution framing, reminding students, attribute your successes to something you did, attribute your challenges also to something you can learn, as opposed to, I can't because I look this way or because I'm poor. How do we help them attribute successes to behaviors? And we just sort of thought, if you only do one thing in the next 4 weeks, I would say create time and space for students to reflect. That one thing, so students can start making the connections between what I'm doing and what those outcomes are to make that connection.
And I would say peer tutoring, I think it's the best. Like bringing older kids to the classrooms to talk about something or to give advices, or even though in your same classroom, like having kids helping between them or explaining stuff, it's like this part that I've saw the best results of. Yes.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you very much.